Welcome to the Commercial Excellence Academy by Asbiverse Group. Today, we're diving into something called the Route to Shopper framework. Now, if you're in the CPG world, the consumer packaged goods world, this is for you. We're going to break down how it helps brands and retailers stop working in their own little worlds and start winning together, right where it matters most, the moment a shopper makes a choice. And that brings us to the big question, right? What does it really take to win a shopper's consideration in a world of endless options? I mean, think about it. In the CPG world, a purchase decision can happen in a split second. With all that noise, all that choice on the shelf, how do you make sure your brand is the one that consistently lands in the shopping cart? Well, here's the core problem we see all the time. Brands are over here, laser focused on their product and their big ideas. Meanwhile, retailers are over there, focused on running their stores. This creates a huge gap, a disconnect between the brand's original plan and what the shopper actually sees and experiences on the shelf. And that gap, that's what we call value leakage. It's where sales, profits, and opportunities just disappear.
Okay, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll unpack that commercial challenge. Then, we'll introduce the shared framework that solves it, guide paths. After that, we'll see it in action in the CPG sector. We'll look at the real-world impact you can expect. And finally, we'll talk about your route forward. Sound good? Let's get started.
So this commercial challenge, this disconnect, it really all boils down to understanding one simple but absolutely critical difference, the difference between a consumer and a shopper. You see, a consumer is the person who ends up using your product at home, but the shopper, that's the person standing in the aisle, making the purchase decision. And while you have to know your consumer, your success, your sales, that's all decided in that moment of truth with the shopper. So the solution really is to completely flip the script. Instead of starting with the question, what do we want to sell, we need to be asking, how do our shoppers actually want to buy? Think about their mission. Are they on a quick trip just for milk and bread? Are they doing the big weekly family shop? Or maybe they're looking for healthy lunch options. Understanding that mission is the absolute key to unlocking growth. And that's exactly where this framework comes into play. You can think of the route to shopper methodology as a kind of shared operating system. It's something that gives both brands and retailers a common language, and more importantly, a common goal, all centered around what the shopper actually wants and needs. At its heart, the methodology is all about what we call integrated shopper-based value creation. Now, that might sound a bit academic, but all it really means is creating a synchronized system where everyone is aligned around the shopper's journey to drive mutual growth. This isn't about one side winning a tough negotiation. It's about building a system where if the shopper has a better, easier experience, everybody wins: the brand, the retailer, and the shopper. The framework itself is beautifully simple. It's built on two complementary parts that create this perfect strategic symmetry. On one side, you have guide, which represents the brand or the manufacturer's perspective. And on the other, you have paths, which is all about the retailer or the channel partner's perspective. Think of them as two halves of a whole, like a lock and a key, designed to connect perfectly. So let's look at the brand side first. The guide system. G is for grow the shopper base. U is for unlock bigger baskets. I, increase purchase cycles. D, drive sustainable profits. And E is for enable cross-functional excellence. It's basically the brand's strategic playbook for driving real sustainable growth. And then on the other side of the coin, you've got the paths model for retailers. It's the playbook for execution. P for presentation excellence. A, assortment optimization. T is team engagement, so important. H, holistic supplier integration, and S, shopper insight application. When you connect the brand's guide plan with the retailer's paths execution, that's when you get that seamless, powerful experience for the shopper. Okay, so that's the theory. It sounds great, right? But how does this actually work in the real, messy world of CPG? Let's dive into a practical scenario to make this all feel a bit more concrete. Now let's bring this to life for the CPG sector. And we're going to use a category we all know: breakfast cereals. Let's imagine a cereal brand and a big retailer. They both want to team up to attract more health-conscious families, a key growing segment. And this is where you really see the magic happen when these two frameworks connect. The brand uses its guide plan to map out that healthy family breakfast mission. They decide, okay, let's cross-promote our healthy cereal with things like milk and fresh fruit. Then the retailer uses its past playbook to bring that idea to life in the store. They create a healthy breakfast zone. They bundle those exact items together, maybe even train their staff on the nutritional benefits. You see how that works? The brand's intent is perfectly translated into the shopper's reality, right there in the aisle. And what's the result?
Well, this brilliantly illustrates the potential. An aligned, synchronized approach like this could lead to a massive 15 to 20% increase in household penetration within that key health-conscious segment. That is how you create real, measurable growth. Now, just a quick note here. It's really important to mention that all the numbers and figures we're using today are for illustrative and training purposes only. They're here to show you the kind of potential this framework can unlock. So we've seen how the framework connects strategy to the shelf. But the big question is always, does it actually move the needle? Does it deliver results? Let's take a look at the kind of measurable impact we're talking about. This quote really says it all. Together, guide and paths connect strategy to shelf or the point of purchase, and intent to impact. This framework is the bridge. It's what closes that value leakage gap we talked about at the very beginning, connecting what a brand intends to do directly to real-world, measurable impact. So, for starters, because you're planning around actual shopper missions, you start seeing these really logical connections, just like our cereal and milk example. And by making those connections super easy for the shopper, you can see a potential 12 to 25% increase in the average basket size. That's huge. Your promotional spending gets a whole lot smarter, too. You're not just, throwing generic discounts out into the world and hoping for the best. You're delivering targeted offers that actually resonate with a specific shopper mission. And that can improve your promotional ROI by a potential 8 to 14%. And at the end of the day, it's all about profitable growth for everyone involved. When brands and retailers are truly collaborating on the right product mix, the right pricing, they can see a potential 10 to 18% lift in the overall profitability of the category. A true win-win. All right, so we've covered the challenge, we've walked through the framework, and we've seen the incredible impact it can have. The final piece of the puzzle is to think about how you can start applying these principles in your own work. So I want to leave you with this one question to think about. How could guide paths thinking change the way your organization plans, collaborates, and delivers value to shoppers? Where are the disconnects in your business? What's the single biggest opportunity you see to build that bridge between your strategic plan and what your shopper actually experiences? Thank you for your engagement. This was really just a quick flyover of a very powerful framework. For more details on individual modules and for custom creation, do get in touch. All the details are right there on your screen. Best wishes and goodbye from all of us at the Commercial Excellence Academy by Asbiverse Group. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.